It was a cold December evening, and the grand ballroom of the city's most prestigious hotel buzzed with excitement. The annual charity gala was about to begin, and guests in elegant suits and dazzling gowns were arriving one by one. This wasn't just any event, it was where the city's elite gathered to showcase their generosity, donating to causes that made headlines the next day. As the valet shuffled cars in the driveway, Marcus, one of the security guards stationed at the main entrance, adjusted his tie. He prided himself on keeping order, making sure only the invited guests entered the grand hall. Tonight was no different. Around 7 p.m., amidst the glitz and glamour, a man approached the entrance. His clothes were tattered, his coat worn thin, and his shoes barely held together. His unkempt hair and scruffy beard made it clear he wasn't here to blend in with the well-dressed crowd. He clutched a crumpled piece of paper in one hand and looked out of place. Marcus noticed him immediately. He stepped forward, blocking the man's path. "Excuse me, sir," Marcus said, his tone firm but polite. "This is a private event. I'm afraid you can't be here." The man looked up, his tired eyes meeting Marcus's sharp gaze. "I'm supposed to be here," he said softly, holding out the crumpled paper. "I have an invitation." Marcus raised an eyebrow and glanced at the paper, his skepticism evident. The paper did indeed bear the logo of the gala, but it was wrinkled and stained, a stark contrast to the pristine invitations the other guests carried. "Look," Marcus said, folding his arms. "I don't know how you got this, but this is for invited guests only. You need to leave." The man hesitated, his shoulders slumping slightly as he whispered, "Please, I just need to get inside." By now, a few guests had begun to notice the commotion. They whispered among themselves, some throwing judgmental glances at the man. Marcus felt their eyes on him and grew more assertive. "Sir, if you don't leave, I'll have to call the police," he said firmly. The man sighed, lowering his head as if he had expected this reaction. Without another word, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the cold night. An hour later, the gala was in full swing. The ballroom sparkled with chandeliers, and laughter filled the air. Waiters carried trays of champagne, and a string quartet played softly in the corner. The highlight of the evening, however, was yet to come: the speech from the CEO of Horizon Industries, the company hosting the gala. When the time arrived, the event organizer stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice echoing through the hall. "Thank you for joining us tonight. It is my honor to introduce the man who made all of this possible, a true visionary and philanthropist, Mr. Ethan Cole." Applause erupted as everyone turned toward the stage, expecting a polished, suited gentleman to appear. Instead, the room fell silent as the homeless man from earlier walked up the steps, now standing tall under the spotlight. Marcus, who was standing near the back of the room, felt his heart drop. His mind raced as he realized what had just happened. Ethan Cole adjusted the microphone and began to speak. "Good evening, everyone," he said, his voice steady and warm. "Some of you may have noticed me earlier tonight. I wasn't dressed like this." He gestured to his simple yet clean attire, a far cry from the rags he wore at the entrance. "I chose to come here as I often am, without the labels, without the polish. Because I wanted to see something. I wanted to know if the people here tonight, people who claim to care about helping others, could look past appearances and see the humanity in everyone." A hush fell over the room. Ethan's words pierced through the layers of pretense and pride. He paused for a moment, scanning the audience, his eyes landing briefly on Marcus, who now stood frozen in shame. "Tonight, I wasn't just testing you. I was reminding myself of the struggles many face every day," Ethan continued. "I grew up homeless. I spent nights on cold benches and days searching for food. I know what it feels like to be invisible, judged, and dismissed, and that's why this gala exists, not to showcase wealth, but to change lives." The audience erupted into applause, some wiping tears from their eyes. Ethan smiled faintly, thanking them before stepping down from the stage. Later that evening, Marcus approached Ethan, his head bowed. "Mr. Cole," he said quietly, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know." Ethan placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay," he said gently. "What matters is what you do next. Treat everyone with kindness. You never know their story." Marcus nodded, his eyes glistening with tears. That night changed him. It changed everyone. And from then on, the gala wasn't remembered for its luxury, but for the lesson Ethan taught, a lesson about humanity, compassion, and the power of looking beyond the surface.